On today's edition of Westman This Week, gas prices are causing gas pains for drivers around Westman. Will they ever come back down? Investigators release more details about the deadly Air Canada crash in New York. We have the latest. And a big announcement from the Brandon Wheat Kings as a special game takes place at the ice at the Keystone Center. All that and more on this edition of Westman This Week. Hello, and welcome to this edition of Westman This Week for March the 27th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Parker Henderson. We begin tonight in Verdun. That's where a young woman is now on her way from a slow recovery after a brutal attack last week. The assault was so vicious, doctors didn't even think she would survive. Now her family is calling for justice. First, a warning. This story might be upsetting for some viewers. For legal reasons, we're not naming the attacker in this piece. Here's Paige Hutchinson.
18-year-old Alexis Bukars is back home with her family, but a steel plate and 74 staples in her head are a sign of the life-saving brain surgery she had in Winnipeg. According to police, Bukars was attacked by a former boyfriend in a burst of violence. The weapon was a small metal container.
And I said, try again, and that's when he picked it up and smashed it right into my temple. And then as soon as it hit my temple, I heard a ringing and I started bawling my eyes out, and I said I couldn't hear anything. Please call my mom, please call someone. And he bear hugged me and just told me to shut up, and I was causing a scene.
Her family says they were stunned when the attacker was released on bail less than 48 hours later.
We're actually terrified that he's going to break in here and try to finish the job. Terrified that he's going to be out there watching her.
It was here that the attack took place, in a Brandon University parking lot around 1:30 a.m. She ended up in the alleged attacker's dorm. That's where the seizures began. She was then airlifted to a Winnipeg hospital, where doctors told the family her skull had been caved in. Students at BU quickly organized a rally against domestic violence. They observed 2 minutes of silence in honor of Alexis's story. But the former chief of the Brandon Police Service says, in a way, silence is what's keeping the problem from being properly addressed.
I think we need to educate and continue to educate and take away the stigmatization of reporting gender-based violence or intimate partner violence.
Stigma and shame. Alexis says her attacker had abused her before, back during their relationship, but Alexis never told her mom.
I don't even know. I didn't know about half of the abuse that was happening, and I just kind of feel like I failed her as a mom. I didn't protect her. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I have a lot of guilt.
Alexis planned to attend Assiniboine College to study science, dreaming of becoming an ultrasound tech. Now, the risk of seizures means she can't drive and may not be able to attend college.
I hope that no other girl goes through this.
A 20-year-old from Brandon is accused of aggravated assault, connected to the attack on Alexis. He was released from jail on $5,000 bond and will appear in court April 7th. For Westman This Week, I'm Paige Hutchinson in Verdun, Manitoba.
People in Brandon are on edge after vandals damaged multiple cars in a single evening. Westman This Week, Abby Jubenville has the details.
Over 70 vehicles in Brandon had their tires vandalized on March 11th. The slashing spree happened in the south end of Brandon, an area Brandon police say is usually safe. Some people didn't even know their tires were slashed until they began driving.
As soon as I started driving, I realized that my car was drifting to the left, and I thought nothing of it. I thought maybe my tire was flat. I was a little concerned, like for the first 4 minutes of driving, And then it got like really bad and I started feeling like a clunking sound and I was just like, okay, something's really wrong. And I was even saying that to myself. I was like, something's wrong. And so I finally got to school and I look and I turn over, I pull over on the side of the road. I look at my car and the entire rim of my tire is off the rubber.
Vehicle theft and vandalism is a growing problem all across Canada. One recent report shows that in just 5 years, the cost to Canadians has increased by over 250%.
$200 or $300 for every tire by the time you change it and do the work, not times 75 or how many ever tires were slashed, is a huge amount of money for somebody to come up with.
Now, the police are searching for solutions. Brandon cops have created a QR code for their website. Victims of vehicle vandalism can send in video or photos of the damage, along with any clues. In the latest case, Brandon police are still looking for 2 suspects. Anyone with information can contact the Brandon Police or Crime Stoppers. For Westman This Week, I'm Abby Jubenville from Brandon, Manitoba.
A collision just outside of Brandon has led to the death of a Melita woman. Blue Hills RCMP responded to 2 vehicle collisions Monday morning on the Trans-Canada Highway just west of Brandon. The accident happened at the Kennedy turnoff. A northbound SUV was attempting to cross the highway when it was hit by an eastbound semi-trailer. A 69-year-old woman from Melita was behind the wheel of an SUV. She died of her injuries. The driver of the truck was unhurt, while the woman hasn't been identified. The Melita mayor described the accident as devastating for the community. A low railway bridge near Kennedy continues to be a hazard for semi-truck drivers and the community. Our reporter Morgan Walker has more.
This is the famous Kennedy underpass. Just last week, this railway bridge behind me claimed its latest victim. What is going on? In this amateur video, you can see a damaged semi-truck trailer that's been pulled out from the underpass. The underpass is actually a rail bridge, and the clearance between the ground and the top is only 3.7 meters. Multiple trucks have come to discover that this isn't enough space. There's been literally dozens of crashes over the decades, and there are 10 warning signs along the short stretch of Highway 1A leading up to the underpass. On social media, some people have caught on to the bizarre number of crashes. Maybe this solution suggested by a Facebook user would help prevent semi-truck drivers from misjudging the height of the underpass. Accidents here always leave a huge mess, but so far nothing compares to the week in 1998 when 3 separate semis crashed into this underpass in the same week. For Westman This Week, I'm Morgan Walker in Kennedy.
If you're in the mood for something a little more mystical, we have you covered. The Galaxy Psychic Crystal Fair is making its way to Brandon. Here's Ben Kennedy with the story.
The Galaxy Psychic and Crystal Fair is an annual event in Brandon held at the Victoria Inn Hotel. If you're into the New Age lifestyle, this event is for you. From tarot readings to crystal vendors, the fair offers a variety of booths filled with spiritual insight and intuitive experiences. I spoke with the organizer to learn more about what visitors can expect.
What can you expect from the event? You can expect to meet some of Canada's top mediums, psychics, and astrologers. It's a family-friendly event, and we hope to see you here this weekend.
You don't need your crystal ball to figure out how long the event runs, because I'm going to tell you right now. The Psychic Fair runs from March 26th to the 29th. Admission is $10, and it's good for the entire weekend. This is for Westman This Week. I'm Ben Kennedy at the Victoria Inn, Brandon.
Nothing in life is free, but Manitobans are still sick of turning over their paychecks just to commute. And now it's worse than ever. STEFEN STRUTH has the details.
Rising tensions in Iran continue to be felt in Canada as Manitobans find it hard to ignore the prices growing at the pump. Gas prices have seen a nearly 50-cent increase this past month alone, bringing prices to a whopping $1.62 per liter. The prices were just recently the lowest they'd been since early 2021, but now they're on their way to becoming the highest Manitoba has ever seen. While all Manitobans are affected, those who require extra time on the road are hit the hardest. Georgia McDonald, a Brandon University student, needs to commute out of city for both family and work. Between living expenses and essential travel, Georgia's finding it tough to get by.
And, you know, people would say, why not be closer to where you work? Well, I love my job, but I just so happen to also be attending university, and it's taking a huge chunk of my paycheck, and honestly, it's getting to the point where I can barely justify going to work.
Since the rising gas prices show no sign of slowing, Canadians are forced to start thinking of alternative solutions. Electric vehicle driver and Sustainable Brandon board member Quentin Robinson brings something new to the table.
Electric vehicles they're not going to be the total answer, but definitely where we live especially, they're going to be a significant part of the package. Yeah, even when prices were cheaper, it was more economical to be driving our vehicle. I mean,
driving free of gas comes at a cost. However, now, more than ever, that cost may be justified. Canadians will continue hoping for relief at the pumps, whether it's from more widely available electric vehicles or a large drop in gas and diesel prices. Something will have to change soon. Westman This Week, I'm STEFEN STRUTH.
Manitoba's controversial Bill 214 has resurfaced. The government is discussing whether to or not to follow British Columbia and discontinue the daylight saving time change. Manitobans are divided over the future of the twice per year time change. Our Isaac Roberts has the story.
Lots of residents have clashing ideas as to what should happen for the province and its involvement in the time change. A vote was cast this month, resulting with nearly 50% of respondents suggesting the province should follow BC and keep permanent daylight time, while 34% said to just make standard time permanent, and with just under 13% in favor of continuing with the time change.
When you move back an hour, that day of the year has some of the highest crime rates and some of the most car crashes because everybody loses an hour of sleep.
Different demographics will find different value in each result. For example, farmers prefer the maximum amount of working daylight they can get, whereas doctors have found that time changes can increase health risks, especially in children attending school.
I'm really concerned because the government's looking at getting rid of daylight savings time, and it's going to be hard on everybody, I think, because it's a really good thing, because in the morning you're going to have more light. That's when people go to work, kids go to school, and it's a lot safer when people work when there's daylight.
In places with mild weather conditions, daylight savings time typically reduces energy consumption, but in harsher environments, it can increase the amount of heating or air conditioning. The spring ahead has also been found to correlate with an increase in vehicle accidents, whereas the fall behind hour has shown a decrease. Manitoba's Premier Wab Kinew states that Manitoba has bigger issues to focus on, such as healthcare or cost of living. But there's still a very realistic chance that this time change in the spring is the last one Manitoba will see. For Westman This Week, I'm Isaac Roberts.
That's all the time we have for local news. After the break, Jenny UNRAU has a look at international headlines.
Welcome back with a look at some of the news making international headlines. I'm Jenny UNRAU. Investigators looking into the final moments of a deadly Air Canada Express flight that slammed into the airport fire truck. The Air Canada plane was landing at New York's LaGuardia Airport when it hit a fire truck crossing the runway. The National Transportation Safety Board says only 2 people were working at the busy control tower at the time. The fire truck was responding to a different emergency on a different flight. Faulty radio communications may have complicated communications between the tower and the truck. Just 20 seconds before the crash, the LaGuardia Tower granted the fire truck clearance to cross the runway. The plane was only 100 feet above the ground. the Air Canada Express plane slammed into the fire truck. Both pilots were killed and 41 passengers were injured, including a flight attendant ejected over 100 meters from the plane. Turning to Ukraine, a wave of Russian missiles hit the city of Lviv and several others. According to the Ukrainian military, Russia launched nearly 1,000 drones in just 24 hours. Fierce fighting between Ukraine and Russia, with Ukraine recently gaining more ground. In the Middle East, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran continues. In the latest exchange of missile strikes between Iran and Israel, an Iranian missile hits a community in central Israel, injuring 9 people. 6 of the wounded were children. Meanwhile, Israel continues to launch strikes of its own on Iran. The video from Iranian Red Crescent Society shows search and rescue workers combing through a damaged home at what an aid agency stressed is a site of strike in Tehran. In the remains of a kitchen sofa and mattress are seen in the video. It's not known the total number of Iranian civilians that were killed and injured in the war. Oil prices are swinging wildly as the fight between Israel and Iran continues. Brent crude and the global oil benchmark hit more than $114 a barrel on Monday. But the price dropped after U.S. President Donald Trump claimed to have held productive conversations with Iran about ending the war. Iran has denied any dialogue has taken place with Washington. Iran and U.S. ally Israel are continuing to trade strikes. The war in the Middle East is now in its 4th week. A ship carrying humanitarian aid from Mexico arrived in the Cuban capital of Havana earlier this week. A group of international activists are bringing humanitarian aid, food, medicines, and solar panels to the island nation. These are all items that are very badly needed in Cuba at this moment. This is one ship as part of the flotilla of boats that will be arriving in the show to show solidarity with Cuba and its people who are suffering because of an embargo by the United States. And that's just a few of the stories that made headlines this week. I'm Jenny UNRAU. We'll take a short break. Stay tuned. STEFEN Struth is up next with The Weekender.
Welcome to The Weekender for March 27th. I'm Stefan Struth. Here's what's happening this weekend around Brandon and Western Manitoba. On Saturday, the Assiniboine College Students Association is hosting the Birdie Bash Badminton Tournament. Whether you're a pro or just wanting to play for fun, everyone's welcome to join. The event will be hosted at the Assiniboine Victoria East Campus Gym, and fun starts at 9 a.m. Make sure to sign up, as spots are limited. There's still some time to get out and enjoy the last days of winter weather. A winter walk is being held by the Westman naturalists. The trek is 1 kilometer around the trails of the Brandon Discovery Center. The event is Sunday, March 29th at 9 a.m., and walkers can expect to see chickadees, deer, and maybe even some woodpeckers. No sign-up is required. Over in Shiloh, there's a chair waiting for you. It's time again for the Westman Jams. This event takes place this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Fringe Restaurant. Bring an instrument or even just your voice. Or you can come listen. Everyone's welcome to join in. Westman Jam is a nonprofit organization raising money for the Reg Jones Memorial Bursary. Photo ID is required to enter the base. Tonight and tomorrow at the 40, it's Locals Only, Volume 18. Each night will have a different lineup of bands, and proceeds will go to the Bryce Collister Wheelchair Fundraiser. Bryce is a community hero, best known for being a huge fan of the BU Bobcats. He goes to every game and shoots the t-shirt cannon. That's given him the nickname, the Cannon Man. Doors open at 8 p.m. and the show starts at 9. Cover charge is $10 at the door, and photo ID is required. Chez Angela is hosting music and trivia night this evening.
The event is free with the opportunity to donate money to support the Brandon Bear Clan. The event will take place from 7:30 p.m. downtown at Chez Angeles. To participate in the trivia contest, call to reserve your table. Space is limited. The Brandon Humane Society is hosting their second annual Cat Cafe. The event takes place on Sunday, March 29th at Luna Muna Yoga Studio. Come out to enjoy a day with adoptable cats, coffee, and food. There are 4 time slots available. Spots are limited, so make sure to book your time. A $15 donation is required, and all proceeds go to the Brandon Humane Society. Playing at the Evans Theater this weekend is The Things You Kill. The film is about a son who's questioning the death of his mother. As family secrets surface, a dark truth emerges and everyone starts to spiral. Showtime is tonight and tomorrow at 7:30 with a matinee on Sunday. Admission is $7. Over at Landmark Cinema, there's one new movie making its debut. They Will Kill You is a horror action comedy in which a young woman must survive the night at a mysterious lair. Get your tickets at Landmark Cinemas in Brandon. That's what's going on in Westman this weekend. Let's take a quick look at weather. Today we reached a high of -6, and this weekend, spring is still just toying with us. Tomorrow will be sunny and a high of +1 with a low of -4. Sunday is also going to be sunny and +1. At night it'll be clear with a low of -11. And we'll start the week on Monday with a mix of sun and cloud and a high of +1. March felt a little chilly, so hopefully April can bring the sunshine. I'm STEFEN STRUTH, and that's all the time we have for the Weekender. KALEB KRAMER will have the sports update after the break.
Welcome back. It's time for sports. KALEB KRAMER joins us now. Caleb, what's going on around the sports world?
Well, Parker, Vikings are in playoff territory, the World Cup of Soccer is right around the corner, and the Blue Jays season is about to be underway.
Baseball season already? I'm rooting for the Dodgers. Go, Dodgers, go.
That breaks my heart to hear. We'll have all the baseball coming up later. First, let's start with the Vikings. The Wheaties clinched the 5th spot for the playoffs. They'll face the Calgary Hitmen. The first game is tonight in Calgary. The Wheaties are hoping to take the early series lead while away from home. But you may ask, how did our Vikings clinch the 5 spot? The big win came Saturday against the Regina Pats. Final score, 4-2 Brandon. That night, the Vikings handed out team awards. Luke Misselbacher from Steinbach got the top Manitoban player and leading scorer. Jackson Jacobson won the 3 stars and took team MVP. But that's not all the news. The WHL commissioner made the trip to Brandon for a special announcement. I'll let Dan Neer tell you the news.
It's my honor to be here today to announce the 2027 WHL Prospects game will be hosted right here in Brandon, Manitoba on Wednesday, February 17th, 2027.
The prospect game will showcase the WHL's top eligible draft picks. They include Jackson Jacobson, Prab Bethal, and Chase Serkan. On to the AAA Vikings, the teams are having an unforgettable postseason. Both the U15 and U17 squads captured league championships. The U17 Vikings swept the Eastman Selects in the best-of-5 series. The final score for Game 3 was 4-1. It's the team's first U17 AAA Prep League title. Their playoff run includes series wins over the Winnipeg Wild and Winnipeg Bruins, finishing an impressive 9-2 in the postseason. Not to be outdone, the U15 Vikings rallied off the back of their phenom, Cale Nickel. That ended a hard-fought series against the Eastman Selects. Cale Nichols scored 5 goals in the series clincher, capturing the league championships. Nicole continued to dominate throughout the playoffs, earning 37 points. 22 of those were goals, all in only 12 games. Finally, the U18 Wheat Kings fell short in their finals, losing to the Winnipeg Bruins 3-0. Just a little more hockey to tell you about. The playoffs are underway in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. In the first round, everything is going pretty much as expected. All teams have their sights set on the Turnbull Cup. The winner of the MJHL Championship will take on the best teams in Canada for the Centennial Cup. Let's talk soccer, or football if you're watching us from France. The clock keeps ticking to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The Canada men's team is warming up with 2 friendlies this weekend. Canada will play on March 28th against Iceland and on the 31st against Tunisia. This will help head coach Jesse Marsh evaluate his roster and build chemistry. Stars from the top European leagues are expected to play in the tourney, including Alphonso Davies. Now, a fresh look at the high school basketball provincials across Manitoba. All varsity teams hit the court this week. On the boys' side in Single A, it was all Panthers as the Glenboro Panthers defeated the Winnipeg Ottawa Stingers 72-47 to claim the title. Tucker Forbes won tournament MVP. Over in AA girls, the Surrey Sabres dominated the bracket. They cruised through the tournament with a double-digit wins in every game. Ivy Perkins wins MVP, getting a quadruple-double in her first 2 games. In the Western High School Hockey League, Brandon's Vincent Massey won the championship over Dauphin. That gives them their 3rd championship in a row. As promised, let's get away from the ice and play some ball. The MLB season began on Wednesday. Tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Athletics for their first game of the regular season. It's fair to say lots of Canadians will be hoping they can finish the job this season. And that's what's happening in sports around Westman.
Thanks, Caleb, for the update. I like the fresh cut.
Thanks, Parker. I feel ready for the MLB season.
I think I need one too. See you later, Caleb. And before we go, here's one more story for you. It may not seem very spring-like right now, but people with allergies dread this time of year. This clip has pollen cloud on steroids. Jeremy Roth has the details in this take. Look at this.
A 911 call about a possible grass fire turned out to be a false alarm when firefighters discovered the reported smoke was in fact just prodigious plumes of pollen. A homeowner reported smoke in some trees in Green Valley State Park, raising the alarm with the Creston Fire Department, which responded alongside the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Officials quickly confirmed no controlled burns were taking place in the park, and after observing cedar trees sporadically releasing clouds of pollen that looked a lot like smoke, they put 2 and 2 together, deeming the scene to be of no threat. That is, unless locals in the area hadn't taken their allergy meds.
Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Westman This Week. Thanks for watching. It's been great to have you with us. For all of us here at Westman This Week, I'm Parker Henderson. Have a great weekend.